Hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new theory and speculation video. Today, I want to talk about Durin and his potential for the future. In the main event of version 4.8, we got some heavy hints about Durin of Dragonspine and how he will come back in the future, so I wanted to talk about what his return could mean. Now, this video does contain spoilers for the quests listed on screen now, so if you haven't done those, you have been warned. With all that said though, let's get right into the video. To start off this video, I want to go over the story of Durin of Dragonspine. Durin was a shadow dragon created by alchemist, Hexencircle member, and Sinner of Conria, Gold, Rhynedaughter. She would create him in Conria before the cataclysm took place, classifying him as hummus. He was considered one of her miraculous creations alongside Albedo, who did not come into being until after the cataclysm was over. Even before the cataclysm though, Rhynedaughter did still work on the primordial human project. Her first attempt at this project would be considered a failure, and she would leave it inside Durin. Now, the cataclysm would of course occur around 500 years before the start of the game. During this event, Durin would emerge from Conria and enter Mondstadt, causing much devastation. Unfortunately, the Knights of Favonius would be preoccupied at the time with a campaign in Conria. During this campaign, Wolfpup Rostam would be killed, and Grandmaster Aaron Dolan would give up fighting out of grief. With the strongest people in the nation unable to fight, no one capable was left to defend the nation against Durin. However, there was still one person who could help these people. The pleas and cries of the Mondstadt people would eventually reach the ears of Anemo Archon Barbatos. He would awaken and summon his dragon friend, Dvalin, to help him fight against the Bane Dragon Durin. Barbatos and Dvalin would begin their fight against Durin, luring him over the frigid mountain of Vendagnir. Eventually, Dvalin was able to land a fatal blow on Durin, the former's fangs sinking into the latter's neck. Durin would be sent plummeting down to the mountain below, and Mondstadt would finally be safe. The dragon's skeleton would remain on the mountain, eventually earning it a new name, Dragonspine. Now, from an outsider's perspective, Durin may appear to be an evil and uncaring dragon, but this actually wasn't the case. In fact, Durin has a gentle heart and wished to become friends with the people of Mondstadt. He wanted to share stories of his creator, his birth, and the place that he came from, the Abyss. He was completely unaware of the destruction his presence brought to Mondstadt, even believing that his poisonous blood was actually a great blessing to the nation. In his mind, he sang and danced with Barbatos and Dvalin above Dragonspine, while the people of Mondstadt all sang down below. Of course, this dream would be shattered when Dvalin landed the killing blow. Barbatos and Dvalin had been trying to kill Durin, and the people of Mondstadt were shouting in fear, not singing. Despite his death, Durin held no ill will towards Dvalin or Barbatos, only wishing that they could have met under better circumstances. Recently, in the version 4.8 flagship event, Summertide Scales and Tales, the subject of Durin came into the spotlight once again. While exploring the fantasy world of Simulanka, we learn of a giant dragon known to the people as Simulanka's evil dragon. He had been causing chaos across Simulanka, and the people feared him. As we progress through the story, we eventually learn that this dragon is also named Durin, named and modeled after his real-world equivalent. As I said, we learn that Durin had done some bad things in Simulanka, including leaving massive footprints in different areas that caused the locals to fear him. We also learned that anything he touched would be turned to blocks, similar to how Durin's blood would corrupt whatever it touched. However, just like Durin of Dragonspine, we learn that Durin of Simulanka also has a gentle heart and simply wishes to become friends with the people of Simulanka. Nilou, Navia, Kirara, Wanderer, and the Traveler are able to bless him and allow his wish to come true, something that didn't happen for the real-world Durin. Durin of Simulanka would take on a much smaller and pure form, while also being given the name Mini Durin by Alice, to distinguish him from his real-world counterpart. To me, it's quite clear that the story of Mini Durin heavily mirrors the story of Durin in the real world. Hexen Circle members Anya and Barbeloth did talk about this, saying that if he was named Durin, his fate would be the same as his real-world namesake. I do want to talk more about this fate stuff, but there's one more thing I want to cover first. In the afterword of this summer event, Wanderer and Albedo were able to have a chat about the events that had recently transpired. During their talk, Wanderer recalled the details of the conversation he had heard between Anya and Barbeloth, telling Albedo about the prophecy they had mentioned. Barbeloth prophesied that R's child would one day return from the dead, with this child referring to Durin of Dragonspine. Wanderer did express doubt at the authenticity of this memory, but Albedo believed it to be genuine. Albedo went on to explain that Durin's heart on Dragonspine has actually been slowly revitalizing itself. According to him, Durin could potentially revive in the foreseeable future. This could be a plotline we see on a return to Mondstadt, either after Snezhnaya or even during an interlude quest we get during Natlan. Personally, I think a plot like this would occur after we're done in Snezhnaya. Snezhnaya's Archon quests are bound to shake things up all across Teyvat, which I believe could lead us to revisiting all 7 nations. There would be new problems for us to help solve in each, while also allowing us to meet some new characters. For Mondstadt, Durin could come back to life, which would definitely pose a threat to the nation. Now then, I want to discuss more of the parallels between the two Durins and how the fate of Dragonspine Durin could be changed in the future. Sharing the same name, these two also share the same story, so let's go over the parallels we have seen so far and speculate on the future. Both Durins were gentle-hearted dragons that had good intentions, but unintentionally caused harm to the people of their worlds. They were both seen as monsters that had to be killed, but they just wanted to be friends with everyone. They would fight with the heroes of their worlds, which led to both of them falling to their supposed doom. Now, this part is where Durin of Dragonspine's story would end. He would be defeated by Barbatos and Dvalin and would die on Dragonspine, wishing he could have met everyone under better circumstances. Mini Durin's story would continue though, eventually gaining the blessing of Simulanka's heroes to become the pure dragon that he is now. In this quest, this was portrayed as a change in fate, as Durin of Dragonspine never got the chance to become a pure dragon. However, I actually don't think that the story strays from Durin's fate. Instead, I think it could be foreshadowing what will happen with Durin of Dragonspine in the future. As I said earlier, Durin has the potential to come back to life in the near future. When he does, we could find a way to bless him and allow him to become a pure dragon, just like we did with Mini Durin. Barbeloth's prophecy could have been told through Mini Durin, and what we see happen to him could also happen to Durin of Dragonspine. As such, Durin's fate technically wouldn't actually be changed. He was fated to fall onto Dragonspine as he did, before eventually reviving and being purified later on. A very similar series of events happened to Mini Durin. He faced the heroes and fell in a cutscene, and afterwards, he was purified. If this does end up happening, Durin of Dragonspine would also likely take on a much smaller form. However, Durin of Dragonspine is also a lot bigger than Mini Durin was before his transformation, so his new form would likely be bigger. Perhaps, Durin could shift into more of a human size, allowing him to become a playable character as well. I think it would be awesome if Durin ends up being playable, and I would love to see him become friends with everyone we've met in Mondstadt already. The only problem with Durin coming back to life is that Dragonspine would be greatly affected by this. After all, Durin's corpse is strewn out all over the mountain. However, bits of Mini Durin that existed before his transformation still remain in Simulanka, including his tooth that allowed us to travel through the waterfall. So, even if Durin does get revived and gains a new pure form, the bits on Dragonspine could remain. We would still be able to collect the dragon teeth around the mountain and craft the Dragonspine spear, while also having a purified Durin in the world. Anyways, that's pretty much it for my thoughts on Durin and the idea of him reviving at some point in the future. This idea is something that has been teased quite a few times throughout Genshin, and I really can't wait to see it happen. If you want more of my thoughts on the future of Genshin though, I recommend my video on A Bit More Fontaine and my Natlan Mega video. I would love to hear what ideas you all have for Durin in the comments below as well. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Sources and further readings are also in the description if you want to check them out. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you all in the next video.